The email sits open on my secondary monitor, stark and clinical. A transaction confirmation. Not for a new watch, or a golf trip, or even one of his ridiculous impulse buys like that vintage pinball machine gathering dust in the basement.
No.
This is a wire transfer. 7 figures. To a holding company I've never heard of. For a property I've never seen. Unit 17B, the Azure Residences. Price, $15 million. My breath catches a tiny, sharp thing, like a shard of glass in my throat. The world outside my home office window, the cheerful yellow daffodils I planted last fall, the kids on bikes riding past, it all just blurs. Fades to a muted, distant hum. All I see are those numbers. All I feel is the sudden, terrifying hollowness blooming in my chest, cold and vast. The air in the room becomes thick, heavy, pressing down on me. I can't breathe. Not really. It's like the oxygen has been sucked out, replaced by something toxic, something that burns. My fingers, when I finally try to move them, are trembling. Not just a little tremor. They're shaking like I've got a fever, like I've run a marathon I didn't train for. I reach for my mouse, but my hand skitters across the pad, uncoordinated. Unit 17B, the Azure. It's one of those new luxury condo buildings downtown. Sleek, glass, offensively ostentatious. The kind Mark usually scoffs at, calling them soulless money pits, and yet. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. The story I'm about to tell you, well, it's one of those that makes you question everything. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me share these moments, these raw edges of life, more than you know. Just 3 weeks ago, Mark was complaining about the cost of our summer vacation. Maybe we should scale it back this year, honey, he'd said, stirring his coffee, his eyes carefully avoiding mine. Things are a bit tight at work, tight.
Right.
Tight enough for a secret $1.5 million condo, apparently. The coffee cup in my hand rattles in its saucer. I set it down before I drop it. My own reflection stares back at me from the dark screen of my phone. Pale, wide-eyed, a stranger. Our life, or what I thought was our life, flashes before my eyes. 20 years. 20 years of shared mornings, sleepy smiles over coffee, the comfortable rhythm of our days. Building a home, raising 2 kids who are now mostly grown and flown. We were supposed to be entering our golden years, the easy years. The years where we reaped the rewards of all that hard work, all that shared history. Instead, this cold, hard digital proof of what? An affair? A secret life? A monumental, earth-shattering betrayal. My mind races trying to piece it together. The late nights at the office. The hushed phone calls he'd take in the other room. The sudden, almost obsessive, attention to his appearance. New cologne. New shirts. Things I'd noticed, of course, but dismissed. Chalked up to a midlife crisis, a desire to feel young again. How naive. How stunningly, breathtakingly naive I've been. The word fool echoes in my head, loud and cruel. I print the email. The printer whirs, spitting out the damning evidence. I fold it carefully, precisely, my movements jerky. Then, I open a new browser window. The Azure Residences. Their website is all gleaming surfaces and panoramic city views. Lifestyle amenities. Rooftop pools. Concierge services. And there it is, floor plans. Unit 17B. 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, a balcony overlooking the river. Perfect for what? A bachelor pad? A love nest? The bile rises in my throat. For a moment, I just sit there numb. The shock is a physical weight, pressing me down into my chair. What do? Scream?
Cry?
Confront him the moment he walks through the door, waving this piece of paper like a weapon? The thought of that confrontation makes me feel sick. The lies, the excuses, the inevitable, gut-wrenching fallout. Our life wasn't perfect. No marriage is. There were stresses, financial worries from time to time, the usual wear and tear of 2 decades. But I thought we were solid. I thought we were a team. I thought he loved me. The sheer, calculated deception of it all is what cuts the deepest. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. This was planned. This was a significant, expensive, deliberate act of betrayal. I stand up, my legs unsteady. I need air. I need to think. But my thoughts are a tangled mess, a chaotic storm of anger, pain, and a terrifying, dawning clarity. He hasn't just been distant. He's been living a lie. And he's used our money, our future, to fund it. The first few days are a blur of barely contained hysteria. I go through the motions. Make coffee. Pretend to work. Answer Mark's texts with bland, non-committal replies. "How's your day?" he'll ask, a casual, breezy question that now feels like a taunt. "Fine." I'll type back, my fingers stiff with rage.
Fine.
I am anything but fine. I am a walking, breathing wound. Every night, I lie beside him in bed, the silence stretching between us like a chasm. He sleeps soundly, sometimes even snoring softly, while I stare at the ceiling, replaying every memory, every shared glance, every promise, searching for the cracks I missed. The tight at work excuse now rings hollow, a pathetic, flimsy lie. How many other lies has he told? How much of our life together has been a performance? I start digging, not in a frantic, desperate way, but methodically.
Coldly.
The anger is still there, a simmering furnace in my belly, but it's morphing into something else. A steely resolve. I need to know everything. I hire a private investigator, a discreet firm recommended by a friend of a friend who went through her own messy divorce years ago. The initial consultation is surreal. I sit in a sterile office, recounting the details, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. It's like I'm talking about someone else's life. The investigator, a woman named Sarah with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, listens patiently. "Financial infidelity is often the first thread you pull," she says. "And it usually unravels a whole lot more, no kidding." While Sarah does her work, I do mine. I go through bank statements, credit card bills, old tax returns. I become a forensic accountant of my own marriage. It's a painstaking, soul-crushing process. Every transaction, every unfamiliar charge, is a fresh stab of pain. I discover a separate credit card. Small, innocuous purchases at first. Coffee shops near the Azure. Lunches at restaurants I've never heard of. Then larger items.
Gifts.
Jewelry. Designer clothes. Not for me. The name on the holding company for the condo is opaque. But money leaves trails. Always. And Sarah's good. Very good. Within a week, she has a name. Amelia. Amelia Hayes. Younger, of course. Glossy photos of her on social media, living a life of carefree brunches and boutique shopping sprees. A life apparently subsidized by my husband. By our money. Seeing her face, her confident smile, her arm linked through marks in a candid shot taken outside a restaurant, that's a new kind of agony. It's no longer an abstract betrayal. It has a face.
A name.
A $15 million condo. The initial report from Sarah confirms it all. The affair has been going on for at least 2 years. 2 years of elaborate deception. 2 years of him looking me in the eye and lying. The depth of it is staggering. I feel like I'm drowning. Some days, I can barely get out of bed. The weight of it all is crushing. Other days, a white-hot rage propels me forward. How dare he? How dare he treat me, treat our marriage, our family, with such contempt? I try to imagine confronting him. The scene plays out in my head 100 different ways. Sometimes I'm calm, collected, laying out the evidence piece by piece. Other times I'm screaming, throwing things, a torrent of grief and fury.
Neither scenario feels right.
Neither feels like it will give me what I need. What is it that I need? Justice? Revenge? Or just to understand why? The why is a question that haunts me. Was I not enough? Was our life too boring? Did he simply fall out of love with me? These questions circle in my mind like vultures, picking at the carcass of our marriage. One evening, Mark comes home humming, a lightness in his step I haven't seen in years. He's carrying a small bouquet of flowers. My favorites. Peonies. He hands them to me with a smile, a charming, boyish smile that once made my heart flutter. Now, it just makes my stomach churn. What's this for? I ask, my voice carefully neutral. Just because, he says, leaning in to kiss me. I flinch, turning my head slightly so his lips brush my cheek instead of my mouth. He pulls back, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. Everything okay? Just tired, I say. The lie tastes like ash in my mouth. Later that night, after he's fallen asleep, I go back to my office. The Azure's website is still open on my browser. I stare at the gleaming images of Unit 17B, his secret world, his escape hatch, funded by our joint efforts, our shared sacrifices. The unfairness of it all burns. He gets to have his cake and eat it too, while I'm left to pick up the pieces of a life he's so casually shattered. The investigators' reports keep coming. Details of their clandestine meetings. Romantic getaways disguised as business trips. The sheer audacity of it all. I read them with a strange detachment, the initial shock replaced by a cold, simmering anger. This isn't just about a man having an affair. This is about a calculated dismantling of everything we built together. He's not just cheating on me. He's stealing from me, from our children's legacy. A thought begins to form, small and insidious at first, then growing, taking root. What if I could do more than just confront him? What if I could hit him where it truly hurts? Not just his heart. He's clearly demonstrated how little that's worth, but his ego, his wallet, his precious new sanctuary. I start researching the Azure residences in earnest. Not just Unit 17B, but the entire building. It's a new development, and like many such projects, not all units are sold. Some are still held by the developer. Others are on the market, some quietly, some openly. I learn about the homeowners association, the building management, the financials. My background is in finance, a career I put on hold to raise our children, a fact Mark seems to have conveniently forgotten. He always underestimated my acumen, seeing me more as the supportive wife than an equal partner in intellect or ambition. This underestimation might just be his undoing. The idea is wild, audacious, possibly insane. But the more I think about it, the more it makes a twisted kind of sense. It's not just about revenge. It's about reclaiming my power. It's about showing him and myself that I am not a victim. I consult my lawyer, the same one who handled my father's estate years ago. A sharp, pragmatic woman named Eleanor. I lay out the situation, the evidence of the affair, the condo purchase. She listens intently, her expression unreadable. When I finally voice my fledgling idea, the idea of not just exposing him, but of somehow gaining control over his new prized possession, she raises an eyebrow. That's the ambitious, she says, a small smile playing on her lips. And potentially very, very expensive. I know, I reply. But he used marital assets to buy that condo. Assets I have a claim to. And I have other resources he doesn't know about. My inheritance from my father, I never touched much of it. Mark always saw it as my little nest egg. He never imagined I'd use it for something like this. Eleanor leans back in her chair. Tell me more about these resources. And tell me more about the Azure. So I do. I lay out my research, my financial statements, the building's prospectus. I talk about the developer, the current ownership structure, the potential vulnerabilities. I speak with a clarity and focus that surprises even myself. The grief is still there, a heavy ache in my chest, but it's overlaid with a new, sharp sense of purpose. The midpoint shift isn't a single thunderclap. It's a slow burn of realization that transforms into a cold, hard plan. It happens during one of those late nights, staring at the ceiling, Mark's oblivious breathing a steady rhythm beside me. The humiliation of his affair, the sheer gall of him setting up a love nest with our money, it all coalesces into a single, burning point of focus. It's no longer enough to just leave him, to divorce him, to take my half. That feels too passive, too much like accepting defeat. He's gambled with our life, our security, for his sordid little secret. He thinks he's so clever, so untouchable. The thought of him, smug in his new condo with his mistress, paid for by my sweat and sacrifice too, is intolerable. That's when the idea fully crystallizes. I don't just want to know about the condo. I don't just want to expose the condo. I want to own the narrative. I want to own him, in a way he can't even comprehend yet. The Azure isn't just a building, it's a symbol of his betrayal. And I'm going to take it.
My strategy shifts.
The private investigator's role changes from uncovering the affair to uncovering financial leverage. Eleanor, my lawyer, becomes my strategist. We start looking at the Azure not as a collection of homes, but as an asset, a business. The challenge is immense. Acquiring a significant stake in a luxury development, let alone controlling interest, isn't something you do on a whim. It requires capital, connections, and an iron will. The capital, surprisingly, is the least of my worries. My father was a shrewd businessman. His legacy, which Mark always patronizingly referred to as your little safety net, is substantial. Mark has no idea of its true extent. He always saw me as the homemaker, the supportive spouse, never as a financial equal or, God forbid, superior. The deepening crisis arrives in the form of Mark's escalating arrogance. He starts spending more and more nights at the office or on urgent business trips. He's less careful, more blatant. He probably thinks I'm either oblivious or too broken to react. He even has the audacity to suggest we sell our family home. It's too big for us now with the kids gone, he says one evening, casually, as if discussing the weather. We could downsize. Simplify. Simplify. He means liquidate more assets to fund his new life, I realize with a cold fury. He wants to dismantle our shared history brick by brick, and he expects me to just go along with it. The rage that fills me is so potent, it almost chokes me. All seems lost, not because he's winning, but because the sheer scale of his deceit is so overwhelming. There are days I look in the mirror and barely recognize the woman staring back. The pain is a constant companion, a shadow I can't shake. But beneath it, the resolve hardens. He will not break me. He will not erase me. The plan is complex. I can't just walk in and buy the building outright. That would be too obvious, too messy. Eleanor and I, along with a team of discreet financial advisors, devise a multi-pronged approach. We identify other disgruntled investors in the Azure, owners who bought in early with promises that haven't quite materialized, or who are looking for an exit strategy. We start making quiet inquiries, leveraging my pristine financial background and the untapped capital I command. The stress is immense. I'm living a double life. By day, I'm the grieving wife, slowly coming to terms with a broken marriage. By night, I'm a silent predator, stalking my prey, meticulously planning his downfall. Sleep is a luxury I can rarely afford. My diet consists of coffee and adrenaline. There are moments of doubt, moments when the sheer audacity of what I'm attempting threatens to overwhelm me. What if I fail? What if he finds out? The thought of his smug triumph is unbearable. One afternoon, I'm reviewing financial reports for the Azure, spread across my dining room table, a makeshift war room, when Mark calls. Hey, honey, he says, his voice a little too cheerful. Just wanted to let you know I'm going to be really late tonight. Big deadline. Might even have to crash at a hotel downtown to get an early start tomorrow. Oh, okay. I say, my voice carefully neutral. Don't work too hard. Always do, he says with a chuckle. I can almost hear Amelia's giggle in the background. Or maybe it's just my imagination, fueled by anger and suspicion. The call ends. I stare at the phone, my hand clenched into a fist. The lies. The endless, casual, soul-destroying lies. This has to end. And it has to end on my terms. The turning point comes not with a bang, but with a quiet click of a mouse. We've identified a key block of shares in the development company that owns the unsold units and manages the Azure. The majority shareholder is an aging tycoon looking to divest from some of his more volatile assets. My team has been negotiating discreetly for weeks. Eleanor calls me. We have a preliminary agreement, she says, her voice calm, professional, but with an undercurrent of excitement I recognize. He's accepted our offer. It's contingent on due diligence, of course, but I think this is it. A wave of something akin to giddiness washes over me, quickly followed by a cold, sharp focus. This is it. No turning back. I authorize the next steps, the legal machinery whirring into motion. I feel a strange sense of calm. The storm inside me has finally found its direction. The next few weeks are a whirlwind of legal paperwork, financial transfers, and tense negotiations. I'm operating on autopilot, fueled by a determination that borders on obsession. Mark remains blissfully unaware, cocooned in his bubble of arrogance and deceit. He occasionally makes comments about me seeming distracted or stressed. Just a lot on my mind, I'd say, which is, of course, the understatement of the century. He's become more brazen about his absences. He even accidentally leaves receipts from expensive restaurants near the Azure lying around, or mentions a new colleague named Amelia who's apparently a rising star at his fictional new project. It's almost as if he wants me to find out, or suspects I already know and is testing my reaction. Or perhaps he's just that sloppy, that convinced of his own invincibility. It's a level of disrespect that fuels my resolve even further. He's not just betraying me, he's insulting my intelligence. The day the deal closes, I feel empty. Not triumphant. Not yet. Just a vast, echoing emptiness. The kind that comes after a long, arduous battle. I'm sitting in Eleanor's office, the final document signed, the transfers confirmed. I now own a controlling interest in the Azure residences, including Unit 17B, his love nest, my prison of his making, now his cage of my design. So, Eleanor says, leaning back in her chair, what's the next move? I take a deep breath. The next move, I say, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face, is a board meeting. And then a very specific eviction notice. The day of the planned confrontation arrives with a surreal clarity. The sky is a brilliant, unforgiving blue. I've called an emergency meeting of the Homeowners Association Board for the Azure. As the new majority stakeholder in the development company that still holds significant voting power and manages the building, my position is unassailable. I've also, through a series of swift, legally sound maneuvers orchestrated by Eleanor, taken control of the HOA board itself. The existing board members, mostly passive investors or residents more interested in amenities than governance, were easily swayed or replaced. Mark knows none of this. He thinks I'm meeting with my lawyer to discuss divorce terms. He's probably expecting me to be tearful, broken, perhaps begging for reconciliation or fighting for scraps. The thought almost makes me laugh. I dress carefully that morning. A tailored power suit in a deep charcoal gray. Understated jewelry. My makeup is flawless, a mask of calm composure. Inside, my heart is hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. But on the surface, I am serene. I am in control. I arrive at the Azure. The lobby is exactly as depicted on the website. Gleaming marble, hushed tones, an air of expensive exclusivity. I'm met by the building manager, a nervous man named Henderson who now, effectively, works for me. He ushers me to the conference room. The new board members are already there. A mix of my own people and a few carefully selected pre-existing residents who are aligned with my vision for a more stringently managed property. The meeting is brief, almost perfunctory. I lay out a few initial directives. Review of service contracts. An audit of financials. And then the main event. There's also the matter of Unit 17B, I say, my voice cool and even. It has come to my attention that the beneficial owner of the holding company for this unit may be problematic. There are certain clauses in the HOA bylaws regarding conduct and financial probity that may have been breached. A few knowing glances are exchanged. My people are well briefed. As the meeting concludes, I send a text to Mark. Meeting with lawyer running late. Can you meet me at the Azure, Unit 17B, in an hour? There are some things related to the property we need to discuss directly with the occupant. His reply is almost instantaneous. The Azure? Why there? What's going on? Just be there, Mark. I text back. It's important. I head up to Unit 17B. Henderson, the building manager, accompanies me, carrying a clipboard. He has the master key. He looks pale. I, on the other hand, feel a strange, exhilarating calm. This is it. The culmination of months of pain, planning, and relentless determination. We stand outside the door. I can hear faint music from within. Henderson looks at me, raising an eyebrow. I nod. He knocks. The door opens a crack, and there she is. Amelia. Younger in person, prettier than her photos, with a slightly petulant expression that morphs into surprise when she sees not Mark, but me, flanked by the building manager. Can I help you? She asks, her voice airy, a little dismissive. Amelia Hayes, I presume? I say. My voice is steady. Colder than I intended, perhaps. I'm here to see Mark, and to discuss the terms of your departure. Her eyes widen. Departure? I don't understand. Oh, I think you will, I say, stepping past her into the condo. Henderson follows. The condo is impersonal, expensively furnished, but with no real character. Like a high-end hotel suite. Generic art on the walls. Champagne flutes on the marble countertop in the kitchen. Mark's jacket is slung over one of the bar stools. Mark isn't here right now, Amelia says, her voice trembling slightly. She's starting to look scared. Good. He will be, I reply, turning to face her. And when he arrives, he'll find that things have changed. Significantly. Just then, we hear a key in the lock. The door swings open, and Mark walks in, a look of anxious confusion on his face. He stops dead when he sees me. His eyes dart from me to Amelia, then to Henderson, then back to me. The color drains from his face. What are you doing here? He stammers, his voice barely a whisper. What's going on? Hello, Mark, I say, my voice devoid of any warmth. We were just discussing the future of Unit 17B. Or rather, the lack thereof. For you, at least. He looks utterly bewildered. I don't understand. Let me clarify, I say, taking a step towards him. You bought this condo using a holding company, funded with marital assets. A fact I've been aware of for some time.
His jaw drops.
He looks like he's been punched in the gut. Amelia shrinks back, her eyes wide with panic. But that's not really the interesting part, Mark. I continue, my voice like ice. The interesting part is what I've been doing for the past few weeks. I pause, letting the silence hang heavy in the air. He's white as a sheet, his breathing shallow. You see, Mark, while you were busy playing house, I was busy buying a house. Or rather, an entire building. He stares at me, uncomprehending. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the Azure Residences, Mark. This building. The one you so cleverly thought would be your secret little escape. As of 3 days ago, I, through a majority stake in the development and management company, control this entire building. Every brick, every window, every overpriced light fixture. Including, of course, your little love nest, Unit 17B. The silence that follows is absolute. Amelia lets out a small, strangled gasp. Mark just stares at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The arrogance, the smugness, it's all gone. Replaced by a dawning, horrified understanding. You can't. He finally chokes out, his voice hoarse. That's impossible. Oh, it's very possible, Mark, I say, allowing myself a small, cold smile. And it's done. Henderson here has the paperwork. It seems there are numerous violations of the HOA covenants associated with this unit, not to mention the rather fraudulent way it was acquired. Consider this your official notice of eviction. You have 24 hours to vacate the premises. Henderson steps forward, holding out the clipboard with the official documents. Mark sways on his feet. His face is a ghastly shade of gray. He looks from the papers to me, his eyes filled with a mixture of terror and disbelief. But this is... I paid, he stutters, his gaze unfocused. You paid with money that wasn't entirely yours to spend, Mark, I say softly. And now you're paying the price. He raises a trembling hand to his chest, his breath coming in ragged gasps. His eyes roll back in his head. And then he collapses. Just crumples to the floor in a heap. Amelia screams. Henderson rushes forward. For a moment, I just stand there, watching him lying on the plush, expensive carpet of the condo he bought for his mistress, a condo in a building I now own. There's no triumph in this moment, just a vast, aching emptiness, and a strange, bitter taste of victory that feels more like ash than champagne. The aftermath is messy. Paramedics arrive, lights flashing, sirens wailing in the distance, growing closer. Mark is conscious but disoriented, pale and shaken. They take him to the hospital. A panic attack, they say. Severe stress reaction. No kidding. Amelia, after a brief, hysterical outburst where she accuses me of being a monster, quickly gathers a few belongings and disappears, Henderson ensuring she's escorted off the premises. Good riddance. I don't go to the hospital. Eleanor does, to serve him with divorce papers while he's propped up in a hospital bed, looking like a ghost of his former self. Apparently, the sight of those papers, coupled with the realization that he's lost everything, his mistress, his secret condo, his marriage, and a significant chunk of his fortune, nearly caused a second collapse. The days that follow are a blur of legal meetings, financial disentanglements, and the slow, painful process of dismantling a 20-year marriage. The news of my acquisition of the Azure and Mark's subsequent public humiliation ripples through our social circle. Some are shocked. Some are secretly gleeful. Some, I'm sure, condemn me for my ruthlessness. I don't care. I did what I had to do. For myself. For my future. Mark, once he's out of the hospital, is a broken man. He tries to fight the divorce, to contest my claims, but he has no leverage. The evidence against him is overwhelming. His lawyers advise him to settle. And he does. He walks away with a fraction of what he thought he had, his reputation in tatters, his grand plans for a new life with Amelia nothing but smoke and ashes. She, of course, is long gone, having no interest in a man who is no longer wealthy or powerful. Selling the Azure isn't my immediate plan. Surprisingly, I find I have a knack for property management. The building, under my direct oversight, starts to turn a healthier profit. I implement changes, streamline operations, and focus on creating a genuinely well-run, desirable residence. It becomes a symbol not of his betrayal, but of my resilience, my unexpected new venture. There are still nights when the grief hits me, a sudden, sharp pang for the life I thought I had, for the man I thought I married. Betrayal leaves scars that never fully fade. But those moments become less frequent. They're slowly being replaced by a quiet sense of peace, a sense of strength I didn't know I possessed. I kept our family home. It's no longer too big. It's filled with new memories I'm starting to create, on my own terms. My children, initially shocked by the implosion of their parents' marriage, have been incredibly supportive. They see my strength, my resilience, and they're proud. That means more to me than any financial victory. Sometimes I drive past the Azure. I look up at the gleaming glass facade, at Unit 17B. It's tenanted now, by a young couple who seem perfectly happy, oblivious to the drama that once unfolded within those walls. I don't feel anger anymore when I look at it. I feel a sense of closure, a sense of power reclaimed. He tried to build a monument to his deceit, and in the end, it became a testament to my survival. Life is quieter now, simpler, but it's mine. Every decision, every victory, every small joy, it's all mine. He thought he could break me, discard me, build a new life on the ruins of ours. He underestimated me. They always do. But the thing about being underestimated is that it gives you the element of surprise. And sometimes, that's all you need to turn the tables and win bigger than anyone ever thought possible. He wanted a $15 million condo. He ended up losing everything. I ended up with a $150 million building, and more importantly, with myself, rediscovered and whole. The irony isn't lost on me. There's a dry humor in it, a tragic comedy I'm only now beginning to appreciate. He aimed for a trophy. I took the entire stadium. If this story hit close to home, I'd love to hear your version. We all have battles we fight, some louder than others. Thanks for being here, for listening to mine. Subscribing helps bring more of these to life, and I truly appreciate every one of you.